Hello, this is Annie. Welcome back to Veronaville for this speed build. This is a follow-up video from the recent tutorial that I made, showing you how to make stacked lots. That is a thread and sandpapers tutorial from 2014 that I showcased. And this is a speed build of the builds that I showed you in the beginning of that video. How I built them and how I'm eventually gonna be furnishing them. So from the start here, you can see that I just placed them down on the map, and this one I'm going to be stacking so that this community lot is sitting, well, exactly where it is currently. And then I'm gonna be stacking a residental lot on top of it, but the entrance is gonna be on the sort of the left side of this lot, you could say. You're gonna see that eventually. So they're not gonna be exactly lined up, they're gonna be shifted a little bit. And I figured that that would be nice to have, to be able to put in a driveway and a backside entrance for the other house. So this is the residential lot that I am starting on. And of course, it's very, very important to line up exactly where the house is gonna sit on this lot as well, in the direction that you want. Because otherwise things will not line up once you're done with everything. So here I'm just sort of following along the tutorial. I had been messing around a little bit with this tutorial like a year ago or something like that, and I remember I was somewhat successful with some things, but then I messed some other things up at that point, so this was sort of my second stab at it, and this is where I figured out how to go about things and what to do, what to not to do. And this was before I made the tutorial video, of course. So as you can see, I have fenced off, or well, screened off with floor tiles where the lot is going to be. And at first I followed along pretty much exactly with the tutorial by putting in the the connecting walls that's gonna connect the row houses together, one tile in. But now that you see that I'm putting in the roof here, it's not looking that good when I use this kind of roof. And I touched a little bit on this in the tutorial as well, that I actually prefer to have those wall pieces like exactly lined up with the outer walls for this reason, that in my opinion it just looks better. So I'm gonna eventually go ahead and fix that, but for now I'm just working on the roof design. And of course, if you're gonna make connecting houses, it's going to be important to make sure that the roofs are going to line up with the two different houses once you're done. So I didn't do anything extravagant here. I didn't make any strange roof angles that I was going to forget eventually, you know. Everything is very cut, clean and simple. And also I extended the roof tile one tile and then removed the outer wall so that it extends a little bit further out without having that wall there. That's gonna make the connecting houses look better. And here I am changing out the walls with the unleveled walls. And here I'm also taking the opportunity to change where I put down those wall pieces. But as you can see, they didn't really want to go here, so I had to also work with floor tiles in order to make things actually work. Because I think that sometimes the walls don't want to go if they don't have anything supporting them. So I guess the floor tiles are necessary in that situation. And you can also see here that I am putting down floor tiles on the side of the building, and that is because there's just gonna be one tile on the side of that lot. Because the road is of course gonna be in another position than the community lot is. So that's what I did over there. And then it was time to move on to the lot adjuster. Of course, I'm gonna start with the community lot. So here I'm just shrinking it down by 10 tiles and one, like right, and one on the back. And then I'm doing the same thing for the residential lot, but I'm also gonna go ahead and move it, and I have named the lot after what I'm gonna do with it to make things easier. And then I'm back in the neighborhood, and of course it looks horrendous now, but I'm gonna have to go into lot view to see where everything is actually sitting. So this is the community lot after I had mixed with it in the lot adjuster. So I'm just putting down some roads here and then moving on to the residential lot. And this is what things actually are supposed to look like. So far so well. And as you can see, I was able to put down the windows. And there's some flickering here because I didn't put down any floor tiles, but I'm going to resolve that later. And of course I also put in the invisible fence here. And here you can see also that, I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning of the tutorial I went on at length about you maybe want to consider where you're placing down your lots before you move them so that the road patterns are the same. Well, I learned that from making that mistake myself. So actually this residential lot has a straight road technically and not that curve. But since I use these overlay tiles, I could make it look good anyway. But if I didn't, then yeah, I would have been in trouble. I think you can regenerate roads by picking up a lot and placing it down again. But of course, if you have moved it with the lot adjuster, you're not going to be able to place it back down again where it's supposed to go. So yeah, maybe there's some trick with the lot adjuster that I'm not familiar with that you can use as well. I think that there's a setting called generate roads. I'm not sure what that does, but it's possible that maybe that can resolve such a situation. Yeah, and here I'm placing down also a driveway so that yeah, when I use the community lots, my sims are gonna be able to park somewhere. And now it's time to put down the connecting houses, and I figured out that I couldn't name them according to what I wanted to do with them because they were gonna have the same name in some cases as the lots I already had. So I went ahead and started by renaming these lots. Not very inspired name, Community Lot 1, but I decided to name the other one Top Bunk Road. I think I'm gonna change that, it's just a dummy name for now. But yeah, so here I'm deciding where this should go, and of course since I'm gonna shrink the lot, so I'm gonna also have to move it one tile to the left. And then this one is gonna be a little bit wider than the other ones, so that's why I chose this size of lot. And yeah, the size that I just tried out is what size it's actually gonna have at the end. And here I'm actually just gonna do the same thing and making a mirrored lot here. And it's gonna connect to the other house, of course. So having already done it once, it's gonna be quick work of making it this time. And as you can see, I'm also making a little bit a dip into the wall here. And that is in order for me to have somewhere to put down a stairwell for the residential lot. I decided to make it a little room for the staircase that I'm going to put in so that they can actually access their house. And yeah, it just made sense to make that like a dip into the building, because then I could make it look like one of those outsticking wall pieces that I have forgotten what their name was. It's apparently a sort of Tudor build style, I was told, that has a particular name that was very commonly used for this build style. So here you can see that I'm doing that same thing on the top level here. That's actually going to give a little bit more space also to this upstairs apartment, besides looking like a Tudor house. When I was thinking about how I wanted to build this, I not only thought about, wanting to try out this trick with stacked lots, I also wanted to sort of marry the two sides of Veronaville in a build style. So that's why I'm trying to do a Tudor-inspired Spanish-looking house, I suppose. I guess it's more Tudor than the Spanish or Italian, but I went with the stucco walls and a bunch of flowers and things like that, just because, yeah, I wanted that build style to connect the two sides together. And here I'm back again with the lot adjuster, doing the same little adjustments again for these lots as well. I'm just following along with the notes I've taken down by naming the lots. Makes things a lot more easy to remember that way. And that is done, and once again I'm in the neighborhood view and things are looking strange, but here we are back again. And yes, again, the roads are not looking great here, but I'm covering that up with my road pieces, of course. And same thing here, things don't really look very nice with the roads, but we're gonna hide it. Yeah, the cars are still gonna behave the same way because they don't really turn in these intersections anyway. Might be the case that, like the residential lot on the other house, that those roads might look strange. I don't think so though, because I think that the cars, when there's a curve like that, I think they still go like to the edge anyway. You don't really see them turn, so I think it's actually gonna be fine. And now here I am in the residential lot, and it's time to try to figure out the staircases. And this was the point when I realized that I might have messed things up for myself and made this little room too small, because of course I can't use modular stairs for this tiny little room. I was considering maybe using the constrained floor elevation sheet to make a 8 clicks high split level staircase of some kind, but I couldn't get that to work. So I did plop down this spiral staircase and then had to figure out this sort of middle part, 4 clicks high, and I ended up going with putting down a modular staircase just on this small level so that they could go from the spiral staircase up to the top floor, and then that was gonna have to work somehow. And I'm putting down some floor tiles here and some walls to screen things in, and some half walls and things like that. And then this became sort of the stairwell for this building, and so far so well, things look fine. But then I placed down this wall and I realized that, oh my god, wait, this bottom floor is 2 clicks high extra. Is this actually gonna work? So I decided to plop down a family here, and I went with the Love family. These are 2 siblings, and I just needed to see if this was actually working. And of course I fumbled at first without putting in a door, so good start. But then I just had Demi walk up here, and you can see that piece of wall, and it didn't stop her. So I was sort of flabbergasted and sat here just sort of laughing in disbelief to myself for a while. Like, this actually worked. I can't believe that it did, but it did. So this was actually a viable way to resolve this, to make a small staircase like this. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of routing issues once I start using this, because that's just going to happen with that sort of one tile slim space, but at least I got it working, And then I'm going ahead and just placing down some extra windows here to sort of figure out what I want the house to look like. And I'm also going ahead and painting the walls, and since I used constrained floor elevation sheet on these walls, some of them were sort of sideways. So I went with this very, very plain stucco, so that everything is one color. so that I won't have any wonky wallpapers. And then this is another failure of mine. I had been thinking like very cleverly to myself, like, oh wait, I had to think I have like a object that can make tiles invisible, but they're still there. And then of course I used the wrong object. And then I exited out of build mode, so I couldn't undo it. And then I was sitting there like thinking like Hagrid in Harry Potter, like, I shouldn't have done that. I really shouldn't have done that. But thankfully I had already put down these Torrox windows that didn't really have any issues with them being this side, but I wanted to have these shutters on them. And of course I couldn't place them down now. I could sort of turn them the wrong way around and put them down. And for these 2 tile ones, that worked fine because they still looked okay that way. But then on that side window, the shadow was really, really strange and ugly like that. So I took out one of my trusty OMSPs, the OMSPs to the rescue. And this is one that actually shifts what you put on it, 1 tile forward. And that's how I could thankfully resolve it without rebuilding anything. But yeah, I was panicking there for a while, I have to admit. So yeah, I managed to resolve that. It's not the most elegant solution, but at least I got it done. And then I went to the community lot and of course put down matching wall colors to make everything look like one house. And then I had some remaining flickering tiles here, but I didn't want to put down any more floor tiles here, so I went with greenery instead. It's not going to cover this flickering completely, but it's going to make it far less noticeable. So yeah, that's also a solution you can use if you don't want to have everything covered in tile. And then of course this is the inside of the first community lot. I decided not to furnish these for now. I do want to use them for like small owned businesses down the line, but I'm not sure what to use them for yet. And of course I would prefer it if this one belonged to the family that lives on top. But it's not necessary that it has to be like that, but it would be nice because then, you know, I could think of it in a way that they own the whole building, and then just the top is their living space and they have the community lot downstairs. But it all is gonna depend on what I learn about The Sims. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that I was thinking that I probably wanted the big older sister to live here alone eventually. And that her little brother is gonna move out once he starts at uni. But now actually that I sit down and think about it again, I'm not actually sure if I want to do it like that. It's not necessary because I am gonna have the university in this neighborhood, and I mean he could just stay living here now that I think about it. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see how I do that. Then I was trying to figure out the inside of the apartment, and yeah, this was a little bit of a strange shape, but I like that. I like imagining things and figuring things out like this. But it was a little bit challenging, of course, because I needed 2 bedrooms, at least 1 bathroom, a living room, and a kitchen. So how to fit all of that in here, that was my challenge. And also, of course, I have to work with the windows to make things fit and align. Because these double windows, you can't split them in half, of course. So I was figuring that the little brother's room could be a little bit smaller since he doesn't need a double bed. So that's what I did for the leftmost room there. And then I had this sort of entranceway that I figured that this can be the living room. And then if you walk to the top right room, then you have the kitchen there. And that actually worked out quite well. It became a little bit strange with that little cubby in the side of the living room space with no windows or anything. But yeah, that could be utilized later for a desk or something like that. And I was working here with the doors. I was at first starting to use the Torx set for that, but unfortunately, when you put those doors on a diagonal, both the doors and the arches, they become super wide. So you can see these doors that I went with instead, they are still the same size if you put them on the diagonal, and I much prefer that. So I decided to change things out instead. And at first I thought I was going to have that Torx door as a front door, but taking a second look at it, I just felt like even though this isn't technically an apartment, it's pretty nice that it sort of looks like one. Because if I imagine what it would look like in a building like this, just in real life, I would imagine an apartment door actually. So yeah, I went with that. And I put in some simple wall colors here, but yeah, this gray color sort of looks like the walls are unpainted, so I didn't keep that in the end. Putting in some tile in the bathroom, of course, and carpet in the bedrooms. And then, yeah, of course, I'm changing out the walls here. And strangely enough, actually, this little wonky wall shape didn't have any like sideways pattern for the wallpaper when I put it down, so it actually looked good with that anyway. So I didn't have to use anything unicolor. And then of course this is going to be the kitchen, so I put down some tile here as well to screen things in a little bit. Went with some nice busy wallpapers that I like. And this apartment became pretty floral and girly looking. But yeah, I was kind of thinking that it would mainly be the older sister living here eventually, so that's sort of the style that I went with. And then of course I wanted to also put down these window boxes, and I had the same issue again that I didn't have the floor tiles anymore. So I used the same solution one more time to use those OMSPs that shift what you put on them one tile forward. And that way I could get that done as well. Just some extra plants here to make things look a bit nicer. Of course, when you have those pretty blurry lot imposters on the same lot, things can look a little bit strange if you don't add any decorations. So yeah, it was important to put those in. And of course, here we have the driveway then. It's gonna have a car for them. And then I'm also moving the letterbox and everything out of the way. So yeah, things look a little bit more realistic. And of course, I just needed to try out putting in the car just to see what it looks like, to also see that I had painted in the driveway in the right size. And then I'm here with the second lot. So I actually did the same thing here, that I just moved a family in just to see that everything works properly. And in this case, it was a pair of roommates. I know that one of them is called Custer, but I don't remember what the other guy is called yet, so gonna have to see. But they're both romance sims anyway. So I don't really foresee them changing their living conditions out anytime soon. So yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna have the community lot downstairs or not, but it would be nice, of course. Just have to figure out what to use for them. And I did the same thing here again, just mirrored, of course. At first I actually put down the staircase the wrong way around, but yeah, things got resolved quickly. And for some reason I didn't have the same issue with that sort of wonky wall piece poking up here in this lot that I did in the first one. Maybe I can click around a little bit with the floor tiles in the other lot to see if I can get that resolved. Then I decided to paint this house in a different color to change things around a little bit so that the houses look a little bit different even if they are connected. But they have the same wall, they have the same roof pattern though. And but strangely enough, when I went to neighborhood view the first time, the roofs didn't really look the same. You can see here that it looks like the pink house has a colder tone than the orange house, but I think that was actually just because of the lighting when I saved the lot, because in the first lot, the pink one, it actually was raining when I was in live mode. But when I was in the second lot, it was just normal sunlight. So I think that might have affected the color, because after I had cleared the weather later on the first lot, that issue actually disappeared in neighborhood view as well. So they had the same color roof. That might be the case. And since I wanted the residental lot in this case to, well, it was going to be a little bit bigger, I wanted to fence this driveway in a little bit more so that it was more clear, where this ended. Because the first lot didn't really have that same issue, because there was actually a road on that side, so it really screened off the community lot from the residential lot very clearly. But in this case, I thought that the fence was actually necessary to sort of mark out that this is where the community lot ends and private land is. And then, of course, trying to pick those phone booths up is always a struggle, but you have to click the receiver in order to pick it up. That's sort of the trick. And I actually made the same layout also for this community lot. I didn't really spend a lot of time with it, but just so that there was something in there. And I just sort of mirrored what I had done in the community lot here on the residential lot, with the same fence, the same tile and the same bushes, just so that everything looks united. But I actually had to put it down on both lots. And then this other side of the lot, I didn't really know what to do with. I knew that I wanted to have a driveway with cars, of course. That was a given. But this other side of the lot was a little bit like a blank space. So I decided to put down a tiny park there to make that sort of a pretend community area, I guess, so that it at least looks nice. It's just not a blank piece of land over there. And I'm putting down some more bushes and things here, again, to make things look a little bit better and to not have the flickering on the tiles. And then I'm gonna add in cars here. I actually went ahead and just gave both these families quite a lot of money from the start, just so that I wouldn't be restricted when I was building this, because the last thing that I wanted to do when I sat down to build was to think about the money. I wanted to just build it and then be done with it. And I'm gonna be able to adjust their money after this. I can actually go ahead and take out loans for them after and then adjust their money so that they don't have a lot. So that works out as well. And this park is not really going to have a lot. It's just going to have a tree and some flowers and some park benches. That's it. But it's a cute little park. I think that when you come to these little cute row houses, townhouses in real life, in a more busy area, even if it's a small town, you can see those little places within the area that they have these little parks or playgrounds or squares or things like that make it look more like, I guess, a town rather than just a rural area. And of course the color scheme became a little bit different in this one because it was going to be 2 bachelors living here. Some of the things are still the same, like the flooring, of course, because I figured that they haven't really changed out the flooring or the wallpapers and tiles and things like that. At least not in the bathroom or kitchen. It's possible that they had switched out like the wallpapers and stuff in their own bedrooms, but yeah. But the furnishing and everything later is going to be very, very different. So at first I actually decided on this size, but then I also took a look at, the size of the kitchen, and eventually I'm going to change that out because I accidentally made it way too big. But in this case, there was no issues putting down the window flowers. Yeah, you know what I mean. I feel like I'm losing a lot of words today. Anyway, so here I'm back again to the first house, and this is when I'm actually going to be furnishing it. So I'm just starting out, making sure that I have put down all the sort of blacked out wallpapers and things where I want them. And I'm also gonna pay a little bit more attention to this garden area. I didn't put in a lot of things here because I'm finding it challenging to furnish for Sims that I don't know. Like, I know nothing about the Sims really, so I don't know what their hobbies are, what their interests are, what they like to do on their free time, what if they want to have friends over or not, all of those things that can affect how you furnish a house. I have no clue about yet. So in some ways I think I made it a little bit generic. In some ways I think I made it like I was trying to go with a more like small town style for it. And in this case, I paid quite a lot of attention to the garden that they had. It's possible, I don't know if this is going to be the case or not, but when I thought about what business, I think her name is Demi, what her business would be on this lot, the first thing that came to mind was a flower shop. And that's why I put in a lot of gardening things in here for her as well, because this is just my preconceived notion for her. I have no idea if this is going to be the case or not, but I could see her having a flower shop on the downstairs of this building, and then I guess she would be growing things in her garden and, stocking things here. Maybe she has a greenhouse, all of these things that I can figure out later. But that was sort of what was running through my mind at this point, and why I put in quite a lot of attention to the downstairs area that's not really going to be used for anything otherwise. So I made sure to put in some a garden hose and some things that you would need in a garden, basically. And then it was time to tackle the apartment itself, and I started out trying to figure out Demi's bedroom, and I just went with very, very girly style in this case. Gonna have to see if this is actually what she's gonna be enjoying, but I think that I was thinking about her having a very bright pink top on. That was it. There really was no other reason for having this other than her being a woman, of course. And I'm gonna have to see what she's actually like. And as I pointed out in the most recent speed build, I tend to go with the same mirror. So in this house, I actually put in an effort to pick other mirrors. You're gonna see that in the other house as well. And I'm trying to spread my wings a little bit, not to always go for the same one. And of course, livening things up a little bit with the paintings everywhere. That's also making the wallpapers look a little bit less busy than they are. Then it was time for the teenager's room. I think his name is Keith. I can't stand corrected on that. Let's see. But again, I knew nothing at all about him. So this is sort of just a generic boys' room, I guess, that I put in for him. yeah, depending on how I go with this, whether I want to keep him here or not, this is gonna be his room for a while or just a few days. I'm gonna have to see what I do with it. Of course, the alternative is moving him into the university lot that I'm gonna build. I still haven't decided if I want to go with a dormitory or an apartment, because I don't know if dormitories work in the base neighborhood. I actually haven't tried it out. Maybe I should do that before putting in effort to build something. It would be very sad if I built it and then had to scrap everything. Yeah, I really, really should do that. There's so many things to do. But yeah, so that could be the case, that he moves in there. And then, of course, this room could be used for something else. I have no idea what, though. I mean, it could be the case that Demi becomes pregnant for whatever reason, and then she would need to have a room for the baby. Or she might get another roommate, or she might pick up an interest, a hobby of some kind. That's not what I had expected, so then she might need a hobby room. So that could also be the case. Yeah, I was struggling a little bit with how to place in a wardrobe in his bedroom, but yeah, I think that the way that I solved it was the best option in this situation. It was a little bit of a strange shape to work with, actually. I didn't think it would be, but when I actually sat down to furnish it, it was a little bit of a struggle. And it's a very generic bathroom, over and done with. And then, of course, you need to have something for the entrance. It's just going to be decorative stuff, nothing that they can actually use. So I had actually started out by placing down those shoes downstairs for some reason, but then I figured out it would make more sense to just have them upstairs. So I just went ahead and moved them rather than putting in some more of those. And then I decided to place down this. I'm still on the fence on it. I kind of hate it and love it at the same time. I really like that it looks cheap, like something that they could have inherited from an old aunt or something that their aunt really, really loved. Maybe this apartment belonged to someone else in the family that passed away and they inherited it or something. That could be the case. That sort of was what was running through my mind when I was furnishing this. I kind of wanted things to look a little bit dated, old-fashioned in this way. Not in the way that, of course, they look dated and old-fashioned for the Cap family, because they have, like, well, an old ancestry and nobility and, you know, those kinds of things with those wallpapers and everything that I put down. But I still think that, you know, the families that are just normal families, that they also are affected by, you know, this being a pretty old town, and people have lived full lives here for many generations. And yeah, I wanted that to seep through in the way that I furnished things. And this was actually also a little bit of a strange shape to work with, because there was no clear spot to put down the TV. This has actually been a running theme for these houses so far in Veronaville. I feel like that there's no designated place for the TV. So in this case, I actually put down the TV like in the middle of the room, which is not very elegant. But yeah, I couldn't figure out any other way to resolve it. So I think it's fine. And then we have the kitchen. And this was actually really, really fun to furnish, because everything just came together so nicely and easily. There was quite a lot of space actually for a big kitchen, and then also quite a lot of space for a big dining table. So I was very pleased with this. It was bigger than I had expected when I placed things down. So I actually had room to have a separate stove top and then ovens on the side. Not a combined stove in that way. And then I could also frame in everything with these nice cupboards. And yeah, The only thing was that I had this window here on the side of the wall, so I couldn't put down those cupboards everywhere, like on the last tile here, but that actually allowed me to get a little bit creative with some flowers and things there, so it worked out fine. And I didn't spend very much time to put in decorations here or anything like that, but I kind of liked the sort of clean, neat look to this kitchen, actually. It's not necessary to clutter things up everywhere, you know. And then a nice, good size dining table as well, if they have guests over or something. And that was actually the kitchen done. And then, of course, this entrance looked a bit empty, so I went ahead and placed down a mirror, my beloved mirror, and a painting as well, and that actually solved that issue completely. And then I am putting down lights. And again, I'm going with no spotlights. There were some slightly more modern lights in here, I guess, in some ways. But there's also some older looking wall lights as well that I'm gonna put in eventually. And of course, a nice floor light by the armchair makes things cozy. Then I put down this, really beautiful, sort of like dandelion light over the dining table. I don't really use it a lot, but I really should. It's really pretty. And then, even though there's not actually a wall here, I ended up putting down a wall light here on the side of that building. But it still looks like there's a wall there, so it's fine. Yeah, this is actually pretty much done for this part of the house. This is the final layout, the final result. And we're moving ahead to the second house for the roommates. And I'm doing a similar thing here, that I'm starting with just sort of framing this part of the garden area in with some flowers to make things look less awkward with the terrain paint. And some more of these bushes to cover up any residing flickering. And then I remember that, this wallpaper is not supposed to be here. And again, I'm checking for any missing shadow tiles and shadow walls. And actually, I had forgotten to put in a roof in this house, so I went ahead and did that as well. Yeah, things are looking good. And here was when I realized that I had messed things up with the layout, because the kitchen was huge in this case. And I also figured out that, I could also utilize this to make two pretty big bedrooms, actually, so that both of them could have double beds without any issues. The only thing was that I had to make a wall straight through that double tile window. So I actually split that up in two windows. It doesn't look perfect, but I guess this house doesn't have to look perfect, So I thought it was fine. And again, awkwardly furnishing things for Sims I don't know always feels strange, but here I am. So this is also pretty generic masculine style, I guess. Gonna have to see. The only thing I know about them is that they are romance Sims. That's it. So yeah, but it's gonna be fun to figure out their personalities and everything and combine that with a potential business downstairs. So I know that I have been talking a lot about Shakespearean dramas and things in the speedbuild videos, but when it comes to the Townie families, they're not really named after Shakespearean characters as opposed to the playable Sims, which is a little bit surprising to me, honestly. I figured that maybe the devs would have wanted to take the opportunity to make everything Shakespeare theme, but they actually didn't. They did make it sort of British theme though, because you do have this, oh, well, Scottish, I guess. You have these Scottish last names in some cases. And also some of them walking around in kilts, I think. Or am I thinking of Brandon Lillard in Pleasantview now? Wait, I could have sworn that there was another townie with a kilt in Veronaville. Maybe I'm misremembering. But yeah, it's not reflected in their names. Of course, I could rename them, but I think that would be a little bit like shoehorning things in, deciding things for them before I have gotten to know them. So I think I'm gonna hold off on that. Could be that I'm probably gonna go with Shakespearean names for the second generation, at least with the pre-made families. I'm also putting down some decorations here next to the door, of course. And the layout for this apartment is gonna be very, very similar to the first one, because I can't really see very many ways to furnish this for it to make sense. But of course, all of the furniture in here are gonna be a lot more masculine coded, a lot less cute. And I also put in this game console for them, because I figured that they probably want to have some activity that they can do together. Maybe. I'm gonna have to see. And actually, the hardest part about furnishing this room was putting down a rug, because I started out putting it down there, and then maybe I wanted to have it over there, but no, it didn't look good. And then maybe on the side, no, it didn't look good either. So I ended up going with this solution that you see right here, but I'm not very happy about this either, because it's sort of cutting into the wall in a strange way. So yeah, I'm not completely pleased. Might be that I end up changing this out later after all. And then of course this wall was extremely empty, devoid of life, so I had to do something about it. And I also managed to put in a stereo here and a phone. And yeah, I try to put in stereos in my houses nowadays, because, well, it's very, very important for those families who are gonna have either parties or dates. Because, of course, if you have a party, they want to have music. It goes without saying. But also when they have dates, they tend to always roll these ones that they want to dance. So I know that it's not really part of base game, but I have a mod that makes it so that the Sims can't dance unless there's music playing. So that's why I always have to think about that. But of course, it's not an issue for anyone who doesn't have that same mod. This kitchen is pretty much the same in layout, but it's a lot less cute. I don't often go for white cupboards combined with black like stove and fridge and things like that. But I felt like this was the apartment to use that for. And then this I didn't really have very much inspiration for, so I just put in a wardrobe and called it a day. And then it was time to put in the lights again. And this is actually where I realized that I had forgotten to put in beddings here in this room, so I made short work of that. So it was actually pretty fun how different these apartments turned out, even though they have pretty much the exact same layout. So that was, fun to work out. And of course we have this huge garden area as well that I didn't really use for anything, and I have no idea what to use that for. So I'm gonna have to figure that out once I've sat down to actually play with these sims and gotten to know them a little bit to actually, maybe I want a soccer goal down there, or maybe like a little work shed or something. I have no idea. But I'm gonna have to figure that out eventually. Yeah, and then I'm also moving the letterbox and the trash bin. And everything is done. But before I can move to the end of this speed build and show you the after pictures, there were some things that I was requested to show before we end this. One of the things was that you wanted to see what it actually looks like when you travel to one of these lots that are below, like this community lot, for example. So I'm gonna take one of my sims here on a little trip there. But before we do that, there was also some helpful comments on the tutorial video that I wanted to share with you. The first one, of course, is from Thread and Sandpaper herself. Thank you so much, Jane, for the helpful input here. So in the tutorial, I had some issues showcasing what would happen with the windows, and it appears that depending on what window you select, you will have issues or you might not have issues. So if I just go in here into this lot and move to this side, because this tile is just one, so we're going to have that issue if I would put down a window right here. And as you can see now that I have used the Torox set, it doesn't really have any issues at all when I have it like this. But if I try to put it this way, I'm not going to be able to. And of course, it doesn't matter because it looks the same on both sides. And some of the windows that you have might have this as well, that you can see that this window, for example, has the inside in this direction. And if you angle it this way, it would be the outside. But then you're also going to have examples of it being the other way around. As for example, this window, this is obviously the outside. But then if you try to put it this way, you're going to have the issue. And that's why you would need to put down floor tiles on here in order to be able to put down the windows before you are done. And also, apparently, if you have a window that you have placed on the edge here, that's angled this way, and you shrink the lot, it will also move in one tile after you have shrunk the lot. So you would have to have those floor tiles in order to put it back where you had intended it to be. So having those floor tiles is actually very necessary. But with that said, let's grab the sim and let's move to the community lot for a visit. So this is what it's going to look like. So you can see that this part of the lot that was the park is not even part of this lot. This lot is a little bit smaller. This part is still the same, of course, because I put in these bushes in both lots on the same spots. And then we have this floor tiling here as well that was the same. You can see the upstairs is now completely blurred out, as a lot imposter always is. And you have the lot downstairs. So if I just go down here, and okay, I can see here that I have some bushes that I have to move. Good to know. But this is what it's going to look like. So you can see the range of vision is a little bit improved in this lot because I don't have anything else on the back of here or like on the side. So I can actually go in various directions, but not this way. However, there was actually another part of the Thread and Sandpaper's comment that was also addressing this. And apparently, if you have gun mod's never fade camera mode, and then combine it with a fade distance set to small, you can, hover over here. And the lot imposter is supposed to disappear. Let's see if I can get that to work. Yeah, like this, I guess. So So you can see that now I can actually see through this side of it as well in some angles. And this way you're still gonna get the, yeah, you can see the neighborhood deco and everything still, but you have some more, yeah, range of vision. Not from bird view still, but an improved vision from the side at least. And then of course there's another option that was also pointed out to me in a comment on the tutorial video, that you can change the settings here as well to switch neighbors off. That way, of course, you will be able to have the bird view if you do want to, just when you visit this lot, just to be able to work with the lot in a more efficient way. You won't have the, nice visuals, of course, but the playability of the lot will increase significantly using this setting. So yeah, that's what this lot is looking like when you actually go visit it. And with that done, let's move on to the after pictures. This is what it turned out like, and yeah, for a first real attempt at this and actually making it a livable lot, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. And yeah, I look forward to putting down some more of these kinds of houses down the line here on this side of Veronaville to make things look a little bit more cohesive. And yeah, again, if you do try this technique out, please let me know and share pictures, because I would love to see them. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next time. Bye!